Okay, we're recording.
Okay, so this is how you're going to stitch Baptist fan using the topper.
Okay, do I still need to be over here?
Yes.
Okay.
And first I'm going to bring up my thread and get started just like you normally would. You got to remember that on this Baptist fan you got to stitch this little part here because that's the straight edge of your quilt. So you got to stitch this in, otherwise you're not going to line up with the edge of the quilt. So I'm going to start my thread. And I always work in stitch regulator mode, so I'm going to turn that on. And now I'll get my stylus ready to start going here. And this is the only fussy one, is the first one, so I'm going to stitch it off, up, off, up, off, up, and then the final one. So now I'm ready to really start the pattern. So I'm going to go down to this beginning loop right here, and I'm going to overshoot that loop and go right to the beginning. I'm going to backtrack, and now I'm going to come up that first loop. I'm going to come up the inside arc, go down, go up, now I'm going to go back down this one, and this sets me up perfectly so that the second to the last one is the last one I'm actually going to stitch, and you'll see why. I'm going to come up that one. I'm going to get to the end, and I'm going to backtrack up to the start of this top, and then go all the way back down to the bottom. Okay, so you can see that I've now stitched one of the Baptist fans. So now I'm just going to do my topper, and I'm going to stitch the next one. I'm going to go down. I'm going to backtrack to the beginning of the next one, backtrack, come up that first small loop, go down, go to the third one, come up, go down, and again, now I'm setting myself up to come up to the second to the last one. I'm going to come up, and I'm going to backtrack to the beginning of the top, and I'm going to go straight back down to the bottom. Now I've completed two, and I keep going in this fashion, back to the beginning, backtrack, do the first up, go down the second one, up the third one, down the fourth, and again, this is going to be my last one because I'm skipping this last outside loop. And I'm going to come up that one, I'm going to backtrack, down, all the way down. And you're just going to do that all the way across the row until you get to the end, or until you have to move your board. Up, down. Again, this is my second to last one, so I'm going to stop on an up. I'm going to backtrack up to the top, back down. Now my fabric is ending here, so this is going to be my last one. You can see I'm almost at the end. So I'll be watching where I'm going. As I get to my edge, I'll just stitch off the edge. So it looks like I can just fit it in. You can see that I can just fit it in here, so I'll have to do a little tweaking up here. I'm going to stitch this last one. Down, up, down, up. Now you can see that I'm off the quilt here, but I'm not really going to worry about that. That really sets me up perfectly for the next one. So now you just tie off, or break your thread, however you want to do it. I use my thread cutter, and I'm breaking off. Now what I want you to see is how this stitch here, that top arc, isn't completely completed. You can see that. You'll finish that as we advance for the next row. Now to advance, what you need to do is you take your stylus and you're going to put it in the uppermost part of that fan. You want to make sure that you're in that uppermost part because that's how you're going to line the board up for the next row. So you're going to get, I put little tick marks at the straight up from where this point is to this point, and that's pretty close to the top of that board. So now I'm going to put my needle down. My needle's down. Now you have to take the stylus out of the board and hold it up. Mine just kind of sits there. Note too that this is not the arm that comes with the topper. This is an extended arm, but you would do the same thing with the other arm. So you're going to lift your stopper up. You're going to take off your side clamp. And I'm going to advance. Now the goal to advancing is to advance until that stylus is at the bottom of the board. And I'm pretty good about eyeballing it. I've put my stopper on and then I set my stylus down to do the final little. Now you can see I overshot that board a little bit. That's okay. All I'll do is I'll reverse it a little and give it a little twist. You see how that stylus just popped right in. Okay, now we should be fairly lined up for this next row. So you take your needle up, and now let's test and see how close we are. Sometimes I find that I have to do a little bit of fudging. I want my needle to be down. It's going to be very hard to see, but I want my needle to be down. I'm going to put it down so that it's very close to the fabric, so that it's lining up with that last little bit. And I'm just turning the bar so that I can get it to be pretty close. Now at this point I'm going to put on my side clamps because, believe it or not, that will make a difference as to how this board lines up. I learned it the hard way. Okay. So now I'm all clipped back up and it looks like I'm pretty dead on. What I want is for my stylus to be at that point where it's matching up with the tip here. And you can push a little bit on that stylus if you're a little off, and when you're stitching you can get there. So let's just test it and see down the length of the board and see. What I'm checking is to make sure that all of it is pretty close. And wow, this one's pretty good. So I'm going to get back down here to the end of the board. Again, I have to stitch this little section here so that this matches up. So I will start my thread again like you normally would. Do a little bit of backtracking. Secure your stitches. Okay, and now I'm going to do it just like I would if I were stitching it. I'm going to come up here, except that because it drops down below, I have to guide it a little bit. Up, down, I'm going to go down. We're pretending that this purple line is the edge of my quilt, so that's why I'm stopping here. Down. Okay, and we're the second to the last. Okay, now I'm going to stitch down, and now I'm ready to start. Okay, there we go. Oh, sorry, went past it. Okay, we're going to backtrack. We're going to do this first one. Real quick to the next section. Remember to backtrack at the top to the last mark and down. Now I want you to look here